is a wonderful event that we do every Valentine's Day. And it really shows what wonderful young translators we have here, both at the college, but then also translators in the community as well. Usually this event takes place at the Slow Train Cafe. Unfortunately, the Slow Train could not host the event this year. And so it's up to us doing it via Zoom. The way this will proceed is that we've got a list of about 11 translators. Each of the translators will have 5 minutes to introduce themselves, talk about the title of the poem, ideally read the poem in its original and then in their own translation. This couldn't have been done without the help of everybody in the Comp Lit department, Blanche VR, and the other languages departments here at the college. So I want to give my heartfelt thanks to everybody that helped with this. So we will begin today with Emily Hudson. Emily, would you unmute yourself?
Hi everyone, so I'm Emily. I'm a third year at Oberlin College. I'm studying classics and comparative literature, and today I'm going to be reading in the original Latin and in my own English translation the poem Catullus 45. Catullus was a Roman poet who lived during the 1st century BCE, and he was famous for his love poetry. So I will start with the Latin. The meter of the poem is written in hendecasyllables, which means that there are 11 syllables per line. I'm going to do my best to read that in an accurate way now. Acmen septimius suos amores, tenens in gremio meinquit acme, ni te perdite amatque amare poro, omnes soedsidue paratus annos, quantum qui pote florimum perire. Solus in Libiandiaque tosta caesio veniam ovius Leoni. Hoc ut dixit amor sinistra ut ante, dextra sternuit ad probationem, at acmi leviter caput reflectens, et dulcis puerebrios ocelos, illo purpureo ore saviata, sic inquit mea vita septimile, quic uni domin usque serviamus, ut multo mihi maior acriorque ignis molibus ardet in medulis, hoc ut dixit arnor sinistra ut ante, dextra sternuit ad probationem, nunc ab auspicio bono profecti, mutuis animis amantur. Unam septimius misellus acmen, mavult quam Syrias Britanniasque, unin septimio fidelis acme facit delicias libidinesque, quis olos homines beatiores vidit, quis venere auspicicatorem. And I will now read my own English translation. Septimius, holding his lover Acme in his lap, says, "My Acme, if I do not desperately love you, and if I am not prepared to love you constantly for all the years hereafter, as much and more than he is who is prepared to die from love, may I find myself alone in Africa or scorched India in the way of a gray-eyed lion." As he said this, Love nodded his approval on the left as before, then the right, while Acme, turning her head back gently and having kissed the intoxicated eyes of her sweet boy with her rose-colored lips, said, "Thus it shall be, my life, my dearest Septimius. We shall always serve this single master, as a fire much greater and more vigorous ignites deep within my gentle marrow." As she said this, Love nodded his approval on the left as before, then the right. Now, having set out with good omens, they love and are loved with mutual spirits. Poor Septimius prefers Acme alone, more than all of Syria and Britain. Loyal Acme finds pleasure and longing in her Septimius only. Who has seen anyone more happy, anyone more hallowed of Venus? Thank you.
Wonderful. What a great poem. It's a nice, yes, so few Latin and Greek love poems are actually pleasant. So many of them are downright, I don't know, depressing. So this was very nice. Thanks, Emily. What a wonderful way to start. Our next speaker on my list is Jimmy Holland. Jimmy, are you here? All right, Jimmy's ready for some medieval German. Take it away.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, my name's Jimmy, he, him, his. I'm a fourth year comparative literature and German major. And last semester I completed my complete capstone where I translated about 10 poems by Walter von der Vogelweide. And he was a medieval 13th century German poet. He's like the great medieval German lyric poet. And this is one of his most famous ones called Underderlinden, which is a love poem, of course. Unter der Linden an der Heide, da unser Zweier Bette was, da möget ihr finden, schöne beide, gebrochen Blumen und Gras. Vor dem Wald in einem Tal, Tandaradei, schöne Sankt du Nachtigall. Ich kam gegangen zu der Ohr, da was min Friedel kommen da ward ich empfangen, ihre Frühe, dass ich bin selig, immer mehr. Küsste mich vor 1000 Stund, Tandaradei, seht wie rot ist mir der Mut. Da hätt gemachet, also rieche von Blumen eine Bettestadt. Des wird noch gelachet, innigliche, kommt jemand an dasselbe Pfad. Wie den Rosen, mag, Tandaradei, merken war mir's Hobbit lag. Dass bei mir läge, weiß es jemand, nun welle Gott, so schämte ich mich. Was mit mir pflege, nehmen, befindet das, wann und ich. Und ein kleines Vogelin, Tandaradei, das mag wohl getrue sein. That was more or less the Middle High German, and now here is my translation. Under the linden, on the meadow, lending a bed to us two, down there lies hidden, beautifully both, trampled flowers and dew. Before the woods in a vale, tuturiti, sweetly sang the nightingale. Down there I strolled, my love there already, I made the way to the plain. My name extolled, noble lady, my bliss will never wane. He kisses me long, long while, tuturiti, see how red is my smile. Made there he had, richly and lush, a bed of flowers interwove. They'll still become glad and feel their face flush, should someone find that same grove. They can see by the rose bed, tuturiti, where I have lain my head. That he lies at my side, if anyone knew, may God forbid, ashamed would I be. What we do while we hide, not even you will find out, just him and me. And a sweet little songbird, tuturiti, he won't utter a word. Thank you.
Wonderful. I love the God forbid part. That was one. This is so good. This is so good. It's from Latin to medieval German. This is a wonderful line that we're creating. Now we are going to hear from Philip Swigan, who's going to be giving us a poem that was originally in Czech. Philip, are you there?
Hi, everyone. My name is Philip Swigan. I'm a fourth year studying psychology and bassoon performance, and I'll be reading Mai by Karel Hynek-Mácha with a translation by Edith Pargeter. And it's a Czech poem, and also this is my first poetry reading, so hopefully it's gonna go well. Byl pozdní večer, 1. máj. Večerní máj byl lásky čas. Hrdličin zval ku lásce hlas, kde borový zaváněl háj. O lásce šeptal tichý mech, květoucí strom lhal lásky žel. Svou lásku slavík růže pěl, růžinu jevil vonný vzdech. Jezero hladké v křových stěních zvučelo temně tajný bol, břeh je objímal kol a kol a slunce, jasná světu jiných, bloudila blankitními pásky, planoucí tam, co slzy lásky. I světy jich oblohu skvoucí, co ve chrám věčné lásky vzešly, až se, milostí k sobě vroucí, změnivše se v jiskry hasnoucí, bloudící, co milenci sešli. Úplně lůny krásná tvář, tak bledě jasná, jasně bledá, jak milence milenka hledá, ve růžovou splanula zář. Na vodách obrázy své zřela a sama k sobě láskou mřela. Dál blištil bledý dvorů stín, jenž k sobě šli vždy blíž a blíž, jak v oběti byl níž a níž, se vinuli v soumraku klín, až posléze šerem v jednou splynou, s nimi se stromy k stromům vinou. Nejsáze stíní šerohor, tam bříze k poru, břízebor se kloní. Vlna za vlnou potomkem spěchá, vře plnou včas lásky, láskou každý tvor. Za růžového večera pod dubem sličná děva sedí, ze skály v břehu jezera, dáleko přes jezero hledí. Stojí se jí modro k nohou vine, dále zeleně zapojítá. Vždy zeleněji prosvítá, až v dálce v bledé jasno splyne. Po široširé hladině umdele dívka zrak upírá. Po široširé hladině nic mimo promyk hvězd nezírá. Dívčina krásná, anděl padlý, co amarant na jaro svadlý, u bledlých lichých krásy spějí. Hodina, ježčí všechno vzala, ta v ústa, zraky, čelo její půvabný žál i smutek psala. Tak zašel dnes 20. den, krajinu tichou kratší sen, poslední požár kvapně hasne, i nebe, jenž ze růžo jasné nad modrými horami míhá. On nejde, již se nevrátí, svedenou želtu zachvátí. Hluboký vzdech jí jadra zdvíhá, bolestným srdcem bije cit a u tajemné vod stonání mísí se dívky pláč a lkaní. Slzy se schlíží hvězdný cit, jenž po licích, co jiskry plynou. Vřelé ty jiskry tváře chladné, co padající hvězdy hynou. Tam zapadnou, tam květ upadne. Late evening on the 1st of May, the twilight May, the time of love, meltingly called the turtle dove, where rich and sweet pine woods lay, whispered of love the mosses frail, the flowering tree as sweetly lied, the rose's fragrant sigh replied, to love songs of the nightingale. In shadowy woods the burnished lake darkly complained a secret pain, by circling shores embraced again, and heaven's clear sun leaned down to take a road astray in azure deeps, like burning tears the lover weeps. A haze of star in heaven hovers, that church of endless love's communion. Each jewel blanches and recovers, as blanch and burn long-parted lovers, in the high rapture of reunion. How clear to her full beauty grown, how pale, how clear, the moon above, like maiden seeking for her love, a rosy halo round her throne. Her mirrored image she espied, and of self-love beholding died. Forth from the farm, pale shadows strayed, lengthening longing to their kind, till they embraced and close entwined. Coiled low into the lap of shade, grown all one twilight unity. Tree in the shadows writhes to tree, in the far mountains dark confine, pine leans to birch, and birch to pine. Wave vaunting wave the streamlets move, for love's sake, in the time of love, anguished goes every living thing. A fair girl at the rim of land watches the evening's rosy phases. Under the oak tree by the strand, far out across the lake she gazes. Blue to her feet it coils and glimmers, and green beyond and greener sleeps, till in the distances and deeps, in clear pale light all melts and shimmers. Over the wide and watery plain, the girl has fixed her weary gaze. Over the wide and watery plain, only the glint of starlight plays. A lovely girl, an angel ravaged, a bud that April winds have savaged. In her pale cheeks, doomed beauty hastens. 1 hour has swallowed up her morrow. 1 hour her promise chills and chastens, marries her May to grief and sorrow.
Very nice, Phil. Very great. That was great. I haven't heard a Czech poem in a while, so I enjoyed that quite a bit. When is this poet from? When's Matcha from?
Oh, when?
Yeah.
Ooh,
You have to Google it. Don't worry about it.
1810 to 1836.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Our next poet is Lydia Finkel. Lydia, are you there?
I am here. Thank
Wonderful.
you. Hi, I'm Lydia Finkel. I'm a 4th year. Oh man, I'm a comparative literature and French major. I also do translation studies. So for the current process, I'm still in the midst of doing it. I'm doing an honors project about a poet named Natalie Clifford Barney, and she's a French poet from the fin de siècle Paris. And well, technically she's American, but she wrote all of her poetry in French. So she wrote a lot of poetry that reminds me a lot of Baudelaire, and I am translating an entire book of hers. Just as some context on this, it's the first book that she ever wrote, and it was really sadly, she is a noted lesbian, I will say that, and her father found out about the book that she had written, which was all about her lesbian lovers and included illustrations of many of them, and he reached out and had all the copies of it destroyed and the book plates destroyed, which is really hard. But it's a really beautiful set of poems, and I've had a lot of fun translating it. And so today I'm going to read something quite sapphic for you all. I just wanted you to know, because if it appears like a man is writing it, it is not. Okay, so this is the 10th sonnet in her book, which is called Some Portrait Sonnets of Women, the book, but the poem itself has no title. Je voudrais du verre tendre afin d'ombrer ses yeux, pour s'entendre de l'ivoire embrassé par l'aurore. Et si vous voulez bien, il me faudrait encore un rayon de soleil captif pour ses cheveux. Ensuite, aller puiser aux sources de la vie, l'essence et la beauté, rêve de l'idéal, pour donner à son cœur la force du cristal, pour chasser de son cœur l'angoisse inassouie. Et je veux pour sa robe en coin d'azur, l'éther et le seul vêtement qui doit frôler sa chair, car sa chair, n'est-ce pas le palais de son âme? L'esprit de la musique ira pour ses soupirs, j'oubliais l'arc-en-ciel pour peindre ses désirs. Alors je vous ferai la portrait de Madame. And the English translation then is, I'd like a soft green in order to shade her eyes, for her skin an ivory kissed by the dawn. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd also need a captive ray of sunlight for her hair. Then go and draw from the springs of life the essence and the beauty, dreams of an ideal, to give her heart the strength of crystal, to chase from her heart unquenched strife. And I want for her dress a corner of the sky. Ether is the only garment that should graze her flesh. For her flesh, is it not the palace of her soul? The spirit of music will work for her sighs. I'd forgot the rainbow to paint her desires. So I shall give you the portrait of my lady.
Very nice. I love the I forgot. I love that J'oublie. That was so nice. That's great. That was great. So we've moved from Latin to medieval German, some Czech, some French, and now we have a Persian poem. Shiv Vaid. Shiv, are you there?
Yeah,
Wonderful. Take it away.
cool. Okay, so I have what's known as rubaiyat, or Persian for quatrain. I'm sure everybody affiliated with some kind of poetry or poetic practice knows of Jalaluddin Rumi. So Rumi is the 13th century mystic poet, kind of old god of Persia. And his work is kind of assigned a certain, I want to say, spiritual depth that kind of coincides with that of religion in the East. People can open his Divan-i Shams-e Tabriz, which is one of his original collections, which he attributed to one of his old teachers, and can close their eyes and can open the book, and they can find a line that can apply directly to them in any existential situation and can feel that. There's some guidance in there. So I've kind of came into this world growing up. I had an uncle who I used to pour over these kinds of verses with. And then in finding Professor Mahalati at school, our relationship kind of took off from there. And so I felt, yeah, I'd read one of these. So yeah. So it goes, Edos, Bilosti Karinim Torah, Harja ke Kadam Nahi Zaminim Torah. Dar Mashad Yaski Rava Ki Bashat. Alam to Bebinimu Nabinim Torah. And kind of my take on it. And there's this concept called iham in Persian poetry. The word literally means layers. And it's kind of a feature of this language that makes it a lot more interesting and deep to kind of translate, as you never really know which layer is going to speak to you the most, and it kind of steers the whole meaning of it. But here we have, O friend, in friendship we thy faithful comrades be. Whatever thou dost lay thy foot, we are thy clay, underneath the foot, presumably. Can it be law, indeed, in this our lover's creed, through you to view all space, yet never to see thy face? Yeah, I'm a sophomore. I'm away from a lot of my friends right now, so I thought that would be
That's
most
great.
relevant.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. No, I know, I mean, especially for the sophomores, out there that are, at home and are away from people, it feels like a lonely time. I can understand that. And that was a great poem. So thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. I would say, the only thing you're missing right now here on campus is what's going to be like 10 inches of snow tomorrow. So, I don't know, maybe that's good for Valentine's Day for some of us. For others, it's just going to be cold. Anyway, great. So our next translator is Eduardo Munoz. Eduardo, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Wonderful. It's good to see you.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Eduardo. I'm an international student from Chile. I'm a sophomore studying physics and Hispanic studies. And today I'm gonna read the poem 20 by Pablo Neruda, who won the Nobel Prize in 1971. He's also from Chile. So here we go. Poem 20. Puedo escribir los versos más tristes esta noche. Escribir, por ejemplo, la noche está estrellada y tiritan azules los astros a lo lejos. El viento de la noche gira en el cielo y canta. Puedo escribir los versos más tristes esta noche. Yo la quise y a veces ella también me quiso. En las noches como esta, la tuve entre mis brazos. La besé tantas veces bajo el cielo infinito. Ella me quiso, a veces yo también la quería. ¿Cómo no haber amado sus grandes ojos fijos? Puedo escribir los versos más tristes esta noche, pensar que no la tengo, sentir que la he perdido. Hoy la noche inmensa, más inmensa sin ella, y el verso cae al alma como al pasto el rocío. ¿Qué importa que mi amor no pudiera guardarla? La noche está estrellada y ya no está conmigo. Eso es todo. A lo lejos alguien canta, a lo lejos. Mi alma no se contenta con haberla perdido. Como para acercarla, mi mirada la busca. Mi corazón la busca y ya no está conmigo. La misma noche que hace blanquear los mismos árboles. Nosotros, los de entonces, ya no somos los mismos. Ya no la quiero, cierto, pero cuánto la quise. Mi voz buscaba el viento para tocar su oído. De otro, será de otro, como antes de mis besos. Su voz, su cuerpo claro, sus ojos infinitos. Ya no la quiero, cierto, pero tal vez la quiero. Es tan corto el amor y está largo el olvido. Como esta, la tuve entre mis brazos. Mi alma no se contenta con haberla perdido, aunque este sea el último dolor que ella me causa, y estos sean los últimos versos que yo le escribo. Now in English. Poem time. Tonight I can write the saddest lines. Write, for example, the night is starry, and the stars are blue and shiver in the distance. The night wind revolves in the sky and sings. Tonight I can write the saddest lines. Sometimes she loved me too. Through nights like this one, I held her in my arms. I kissed her again and again under the endless sky. She loved me. Sometimes I loved her too. How could one not have loved her great, still eyes? Tonight I can write the saddest lines. To think that I do not have her, to feel that I have lost her, to hear the immense night, still more immense without her, and the verse falls through the soul like dew to the pasture. What does it matter that my love could not keep her? The night is starry, and she's not with me. This is all. In the distance, someone is singing. In the distance, my soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. My sight tries to find her as though to bring her closer. My heart looks for her, and she's not with me. The same night widening the same trees. We of that time are no longer the same. I no longer love her, that's certain, but how I loved her. My voice tried to find the wind to touch her hearing. Another's, she will be another's, as she was before my kisses. Her voice, her bright body, her infinite eyes. I no longer love her, that's certain, but maybe I love her. Love is so short, forgetting is so long, because through nights like this one, I held her in my arms. My soul is not satisfied that it has lost her, that this be the last pain that she makes me suffer, and this the last verses that I write for her. Thank you.
That's great. I hadn't heard that one. That punched me in the gut, Eduardo. That's what good poetry should do. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Our next poet is Miriam. Is it Kunakayev?
It's Hanakayev. That's
Hanakayev.
okay.
Sorry, Miriam.
Don't worry. So I'm reading a poem by Maria Skoptsova from the Russian. She was actually eventually ordained as an Eastern Orthodox nun. So she goes by a couple different names. So like in some writings, she's Mother Maria, in other writings, she's Elizaveta Pilenko, because she was originally like just a modernist poet. But when she became a nun, she kept writing. And she wrote until the 40s and actually died in a concentration camp in the Holocaust because she immigrated to France. But I'm reading her poem in Russian, and it's untitled and like written in the early 1900s, I think. So в земную грудь войти корнями, земной корнями выпить сок, и мерить время только днями, забыть не знать, что близок срок. Так пусть ведет опять дорога за грань небес в земной звезде. Прозябнуть зерна много-много в возбытой черной борозде. Так пусть простор земной, там тесный, минуты больно сдавит грудь, в простор иной, в простор небесный, не повернет тоска наш путь. Земные дети, плоть от плоти, поток земных единых сил. Мы спали с ней в ее дремоте. Земной нас голос разбудил. Мы с ней стремились вдали неба, к иной пылющей звезде. И для нее звучало треба в душе, в заре, в полях, везде. Питая всех деревьев корней, лелея зерна среди лилей. О, мать, ты солнце чудотворней и звезд пылающих мудрей. So I translated this for my capstone. Her work hasn't previously been translated, and I tried to make it rhyme, but it doesn't always rhyme. But okay. To enter into the earth's bosom with your roots, to drink the earth's root supply, to drink the earthly root supply, and time measured only in days gets reduced to forget, omit that the hour is nigh. So let the road lead once more beyond the limits of the sky to another star. The seeds will sprout more and more in the furrow with black like tar. So let the vastness of the earth that cramps us momentarily weigh the chest into another vastness, a celestial vastness. Melancholy will not veer off our quest. Earthly children, flesh of her flesh, issued from the same earthly dust. In her slumber we were enmeshed, an earthly voice awakened us. Together with her we strove into the celestial expanse, to another star blazing in a flare, and the need for her only enhanced, in the soul, in the dawn, in the fields, everywhere. Feeding all the roots of the trees, nurturing her seeds in the leaves. O mother, even the sun is less miraculous than your ways, you who are wiser than the stars ablaze. Thank you.
Great. That was wonderful. I just, I mean, this is such a wonderful event, and you guys are all doing such a great job. You're all just hitting it out of the park. It's really wonderful to hear all of you give these readings and translate your works. It's just been wonderful. If anyone's interested in getting like a list of the poems and who read and things like that, feel free to send me an email, which is just trinacT@oberlin.edu, and I'm happy to send you the program for the night as far as that goes. And remember, that there is the translation symposium as well in April, and I hope many of you will be reading there as well. That's going to be another wonderful event. I think between this and the translation symposium, they're two of my favorite events on campus for sure. Our next poet is Brandon County. Brandon, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Brandon, I gotta say, I love the title of this poem. Will you tell everyone the title of this poem?
The title of this poem, it's a sort of Dickinsonian title. It's just the first line. So it's Soma gisule lu yag hamal nisoruma. If you don't see me for ages, know that I'm not far. And this is a poem in Wolof, which is a language spoken in Senegal, Gambia, Mauritania, and other places, but mostly there. And it's not rhyming. It's not a quatrain or anything like that. There's a brand of Wolof poetry that does rhyme, and that's mostly devotional poetry. It's what's called Qasaid poetry. And this is not it. This is about love. So it was kind of hard to find a poem that wasn't a more abstract theological love of God or God's love of us, but sort of love between people. And to do that, I turned to the internet, where you find all sorts of things. And so on like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, there's a personality known as Safia Toubé. I don't know her personally, but she has these sort of short poems in Wolof, and she's something of a grammatical and orthographic scold on the internet, reminding people to spell their Wolof correctly online. So she's an interesting person and an interesting poet. And very interestingly, this poem, If You Don't See Me for Ages, Know That I'm Not Far, was, I think, first published March 15th, 2020. So it's particularly appropriate to read over Zoom. As we were sort of dispersing and holing up last year, it's I sort of read this as a reminder that even when we're far away, we can be close together, but also a reminder that just knowing that people are there, are sort of far away, isn't enough. You have to remind your friends, you have to remind your loved ones that you will come back, that you will see each other again. And so this is sort of an ode to that, but also a little bit of a warning that you don't want to take sort of this absence makes the heart grow fonder too literally or sort of for granted. So I will start now. The Wolof poetry really kind of emphasizes a lot of alliteration. Wolof uses some great sounds like cha and nya, and we'll hear some of those, and a lot of geminated consonants. So here we go. It's pretty short. Soma gisule luyag chamal ni sorewuma. Ndachol du fatte. Te Jeff rek ataku. Sachol dina joy. Chena sach saironion dinanturu. Why chamal ni samajem rek motuki. Why samachol du mus la asore. And so to translate that, or to offer a translation, if you don't see me for ages, know that I'm not far, so that a heart does not forget. And in simply staying true, your heart will wail, and maybe even your eyes will well with tears. But no, it's just the sight of me that's setting off. But my heart is never far from you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. That was great. That was great. And so interesting. I know you read one, and was it in Wolof last year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
If I can plug, I teach Wolof through Exco. So.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Hey, anyone need an Exco? That's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you so
Thank
much. Our next poet, translator, scholar, international personality is Kirk Buzz Ormand. Kirk, are you there?
Indeed, I am.
And he's in Greece now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Athens in my rich fantasy life. Yeah, so all of you have been reading these beautiful, deep, meaningful poems, and I'm going to not do that. As Chris mentioned, most of the love poems from the ancient world are not so nice. I'm going to read a poem which we have because of a 10th century manuscript, which is an anthology of poetry dating everywhere from the Archaic period in Greece through about the 6th century CE. This particular poem is attributed to a guy named Philodemus, but we don't really know if it was written by Philodemus. If it was, it dates to the 1st century BCE. It's in elegiac meter, which is a meter that's traditionally used for fairly serious love poetry. But what's interesting about it is that it's a dialogue between two people who the speaker switches in the middle of the line multiple times. So I'm going to try and read it in meter, and then I'll say one more thing about it, and then I'll read the translation. All right, here we go. Kaira sukai gekai kaira tide. I'm going to start over. Kaira sukai sugakaira tide sakalein sedamepo tu trafelos bude me dasume tinaches aye ton phileonta theles hamasema ranhemen depnein e sutheles eugoposo parase meden moi prodidu tu tog sen anan alanos an ansoi koi me thente doke tu todas uchadiches pugi ne pemso kataman thanapen ekahexes ein sutheles horein eu thuthalo proager. Okay, so that's the Greek. Now what you didn't realize is that this is a conversation between a sex worker and her potential client. And it goes something like this. Hello, you, and hello, you. What should I call you? As you like. Don't be in a hurry about that. You neither. Are you free? I always have a lover. Can I buy you dinner tonight? If you like. All right, how much do you charge? Don't promise me anything. That's unusual. So, whatever seems right for sleeping with you, give me that. That's fair. Where will you be? I'll send for you. Figure it out. When will you arrive? Whatever time you like. How about now? Lead the way. And that's it.
So Kirk, is that from the Garland?
I don't think so. It's just in the middle of book 5 of the Greek anthology.
Is that right? Okay. Nice. Interesting. Well, thank you for that. I think we should just move on. I've got nothing to say. I don't know how to.
There's no way to rescue that.
I don't want to riff on that. So, let's just move on and to Pradnya Martz. Pradnya, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Hi.
Hard act to follow, Kirk. All right. Do you want me to start? Okay. So I am going to be stating a poem in Marathi, and I want to tell you a little bit about the language. Marathi is the language of the state of Maharashtra in India. It's one of 23 Indian languages, and it is the 3rd most spoken language after Hindi and Bengali in India. And for giving some reference point for people, I would like to say it's spoken by about 80 million people, and roughly the same population that speaks Italian. And for those that are interested, I have contributed to this program in Marathi and Hindi and Urdu. So if you feel like you have students that want to learn the script of these languages, I'm happy to oblige. I have been invited for EXCO and I have not had that time in the past, but I'm happy to do one-on-one help if necessary. So the poem I'm choosing is written by Suresh Bhatt, who's a poet that was born in 1932 in a physician household. And his mother was very fond of poetry and made the young poet learn famous Marathi poems. And when he was 2.5 years old, he contracted polio, and the disease left his right leg incapacitated for the remainder of his life. And according to him, his poems were the only source of comfort for him during such times of bitterness. And after graduation, he continued writing poems while doing many teaching jobs in academia. And his best known verses gained popularity after they were set to music by a famous composer called Hridaynath Mangeshkar. And this is one of his most loved poems. In Indian poems, as in everything, there's always never explicit love mentioned. So there's like just some phrases that are inserted in there, and it's just, you have to take a lot from inference. In this particular poem, it's called Kevha Tari Pahate, at some point in dawn. And I'm going to try to see if I can translate while I'm reading, but let's see how this works. I tried it on my family who doesn't speak the language, so I'm going to try to follow that format. In this poem, the narrator is choosing not to sleep. This is a nighttime poem, savoring the aloneness while lying in a lover's embrace as the night slowly turns to dawn. Halfway through it, she goes out in nature and is taking in the unique sights of that time of the day. And what I've always found attractive is the relationship that is found between the nature and the narrator in such Marathi poems. And there's personification of the night, which Rat is the word. You'll hear the word Rat again and again. It is the night translation, and it's throughout. So let's get to the poem. I do have a surprise for you at the end. Kevha tari pahate, ulatun ratra geli. At some point in dawn, the night went by. Mitale tsukuna doe, haravuna ratra geli. I lost the night in just the moment I dozed by mistake. Karale malana kevha, I didn't realize when. Sutali mithi zarashi, my embrace had just loosened lightly. And karale malana kevha, nisatun ratre geli, and neither did I realize when the night just slipped away. So I'm going to set a little bit in tune. I'm going to say the same things. कळले मला न केव्हा सुटली मिठी जराशी कळले मला न केव्हा सुटली मिठी जराशी कळले मला न केव्हा निसटून रात गेली केव्हा तरी पहाटे. So केव्हा तरी पहाटे is in the song and it keeps repeating itself. And then I am not a great translator by profession or academics, but I'll do my best. Urale urat kahi आवाज चांदण्यांचे. All that was left in my heart were the whispers of the moonlight. And then Akash Tarakanse, which is the stars in the night. Akash Tarakanse, Utsluna Ratra Geli. The night picked up all the stars that they were and then took off. And then here's my final paragraph. And I'm going to try to act it so you see if you can understand the words. Smaralya malana tevha majhat's gita pankti. I could not remember and I couldn't figure out how to complete the lines of my own poem. Maga or Shevatachi, Sutsavuna Ratra Geli. The night took off, but only after prompting me to write the final line in my own poem. And so I have this surprise that I'm going to help you all enjoy. As you can see, so it was the composer that made his poems famous, and you'll see why. And this is the one paragraph that I'm going to try to sing with the music in the background to get you a complete idea about this song. Hold on one second. स्मरण्या मला न तेव्हा माझ्याच गीत पंक्ती स्मरण्या मला न तेव्हा माझ्याच गीत पंक्ती मग ओळ शेताची शेवटाची सुवून रात गेली केव्हा तरी पहाटे उलटून रात गेली केव्हा तरी पहाटे. So I hope you got a little idea about the poem and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. That was great. That was great. It's not like Kirk sang. I mean, come on. All right, wonderful. Thank you, Pradya. All right. We've got one more poet to go. Theo Cantor. Theo, are you there?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Theo's going to read from one of my favorite poets.
Oh, wow. Now the pressure's on. I guess, yes, so I'll be reading a poem called Stes Scalas, On the Stairs by Cavafy. Last year I was thinking usually of doing Jewish love poems because that's, I don't know, culture I feel is like represented in poetry. I guess Cavafy was Greek, but he came from Alexandria and Constantinople, which are two wonderful multicultural cities that my family both has roots in. And most of his work was translated to English. I didn't translate this. It was by Ray Dalvin, who is a Greek Jewish woman who comes from the same village as my grandfather, Yanina, which is in the north. This is actually unpublished. I said 1933 because this was the year of his death, but this was among his poems that weren't published in his lifetime. I've been involved in some performance work at the Onassis Center in Athens. Actually, tomorrow I'll be performing again in the morning. And they have digitized his entire archive, all of his writings. I found this, I know him also because his song Anthony was the inspiration for Leonard Cohen's song Alexandra Leaving, which is, I love Leonard Cohen a lot too. Maybe I'll do his poem next year. This is Demotic Greek, not classical Greek, but I don't know. Most of the Greek I know is kind of just, I don't know, how to order food and curses, but love poetry is wonderful too. So thanks to my Greek family who helped me pronounce this. Here we go. Στις σκάλες. Την άτιμη την σκάλα σαν κατεβαίνα, από την πόρτα εμπαίνεις και μια στιγμή. Είδα το άγνωστο σου πρόσωπο και με είδες. Έπειτα κρύφτηκα να μην εξανάρτης κι εσύ. Πέρασες γρήγορα το πρόσωπο σου κρύβοντας και χύθηκες στο άτιμο το σπίτι μέσα, όπου την είδωμη δεν φάβρες, καθώς δεν την βρήκα. Κι όμως τον ερώτα που ήθελες, τον είχα να στον δώσω. Τον ερώτα που ήθελα, τα μάτια σου με το παν, τα κουρασμένα και ύποπτα, είχες να με τον δώσεις. Τα σωμάτα μας εστίνηκαν και γυρέντοναν. Το αίμα και το δέρμα μας ενώσαν, αλλά κρύφτηκαμε κι οι δυο μας τραγωσμένοι. As I was going down those ill-famed stairs, you were coming through the door, and for a second I saw your unfamiliar face and you saw mine. Then I hid so you wouldn't see me again, and you hurried past me, hiding your face, and slipped inside the ill-famed house where you couldn't have found pleasure any more than I did. And yet, the love you were looking for, I had to give you. The love I was looking for, so your tired knowing eyes implied, you had to give me. Our bodies sensed and sought each other. Our blood and skin understood. But we both hid ourselves, flustered. Thank you.
Aurea. Very nice, very nice. Thank you for that. That was great. Thea, have you ever been to Leonard Cohen's house in Aguina, or excuse me, in Idra?
I have not actually. That's on my list.
I did a pilgrimage right after Cohen died, and everyone had written in dust on the door of his home, like all the lyrics from his songs. It was very moving. It was a very touching moment. So I encourage you to do it next time. You can get out of Yanina and go down to the islands. Well, thank you, everybody. That was wonderful. I hope you all have just a great Valentine's Day. It touches my heart that you all spent some of it reading these poems and sharing your work with the rest of the community. I know I got a lot out of it, and I'm sure all of us did. So I just want to say thanks to everybody, and hopefully see some of you next year on Valentine's Day, hopefully in person at Slow Train. So until then, take care, stay warm. And if anyone's interested again in the list of poems that were read, feel free to send me an email. And I've recorded this. And so if anyone's interested in the recording as well, feel free to send me an email. We might be posting it to a certain website or something like that at some point. Great. Thanks, everybody. Take care.